Available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. In a previous video and a live stream, I talked about how many female adult film stars are women in crisis. And some have been asking me to talk about how many male performers are men in crisis. And these people, while they don't drop a Cash App or any support to the channel, I will make this video because I want to go in depth on how many male adult film stars are men in crisis. Now, when it comes to the male adult film star, many people in society believe that he is receiving great benefits because he can go out and have sex with the most beautiful women in the world. However, when it comes to the male adult film star, the male adult film star is suffering in silence as a man in crisis, and he's suffering in silence as a man in crisis because many people really don't understand the struggles that a male adult film star deals with in the adult film industry. Now, what leads to a male going into the adult film industry are several things. Some of these men have serious mommy issues because their mothers were not there to meet their emotional needs. And to overcompensate, what these men do is they want to enter the world of adult entertainment to become a hyper-masculine man and become a hyper-masculine man who can go out here and look to go out and have sex with many of these women in the arranged and staged sex acts, believing that this will lead to him becoming a man. This is something that I talk about in depth in my book, The Man Crisis, because many of these males, again, as related to their mommy issues, they want to go out here and have these relationships with women because they feel like they are not really that strong of a man in some cases, and in other cases, some of these men have received a complete sexual miseducation from Madison Avenue in Hollywood as related to the sexual revolution this country went into in the 1960s. Now, a lot of those men, they entered the adult film industry because they got this complete sexual miseducation from many films that were produced as related to mainstream movies, which promoted a narrative that a boy became a man when he went out here and had sex. This is the narrative they wanted to push in many mainstream teen movies, especially during the 1970s and 1980s. And a lot of these boys, as they were growing up in latchkey households that were created due to feminism, this was the model of manhood that they were taught as related to their sexual miseducation. And this leads to a small group of these boys looking to enter into the adult film industry, believing that this going and having sex with many of these women will lead to him becoming a man. This is a lie that was told by Madison Avenue, Hollywood, and the adult film industry, and it has really miseducated a lot of males as related to what defines their manhood, because instead of defining their manhood by God making them male, what they do is define their manhood by what's between their legs and how many times they can stick a carbon rod in the atomic waste reactor of other adult film stars. So that's what leads to a lot of males winding up on the road to becoming male adult film stars, the dysfunctional home they were raised in, the miseducation they received from Madison Avenue in Hollywood and the adult film industry. And some also enter the adult film industry because some of these men have been molested and sexually abused. And because these men have been molested and abused, they feel insecure about their own sexuality. And because they feel insecure about their sexuality and question their sexuality because they have been possibly abused by a male relative or a male that they trusted, what happens is these males, because they feel insecure about their sexuality, enter the adult film industry to try to compensate for their feelings of inadequacy about their sexuality, and those men start going out here looking to have sex with as many women as they possibly can to show the world how much of a man they are. And as these men enter into the adult film industry, what happens to those men is that it doesn't become a fantasy about going out here and having sex with most of these women. What happens is they enter into a cold reality of a business that is really brutal on men, and more brutal on men than it is on women, because when it comes to the men who enter the adult film industry, many of these men wind up getting a rude awakening, because yes, your co-star is a very beautiful woman when you see her all made up. However, the way they treat men in the adult film industry is more egregious than they do the women. Now, when it comes to the men wind up on a road possibly to addiction early on, because those men, in order to be seen on camera, have to be very buff looking in order to appear like studs. So these men start out early on taking a lot of steroids in order to get their body looking strong and muscular, and they also have to wind up taking lots of sexual performance enhancing drugs like Viagra that keep their penises erect for 3 to 4 hours of a shoot. That's what these men usually have to take as related to drugs, and that really starts them on a road to addiction. And it starts them on a road to addiction because what happens to these men is, as they're out here having these sexual relations that are simulated sex acts that are acted out, again, I have to point out that this is acting. Many of these men find out that it's not very pleasurable to have sex on an adult film set, because you are constantly starting and stopping as related to these scenes, and starting and stopping over the course of these scenes that can go on for 3 to 4 hours. And as you're starting and stopping so that the cameraman can get a close-up, as the cameraman can get a wide shot and a medium shot, again, this isn't very pleasurable for the man, as his carbon rod is going inside of these women's atomic waste reactors. What's happening to that man is, again, he's not getting any sort of pleasure. No, he's not getting any sort of pleasure at all as related to this sex act, which is, again, an acted out sex act. So he's not getting any pleasure at all when he has to start and stop in the middle of a scene. And a lot of these guys find out the hard way that sex on an adult film set is, again, not the enjoyable act that they thought that it would be, because what you see on screen in these movies, again, is done over the course of a couple of hours. And as it's done over the course of a couple of hours, this man is very tired, he's very fatigued, and sometimes he has to wait for himself to get back up as related to his erection, and sometimes he has to go out here and get fluffed up, and sometimes he has to get fluffed up by another man. That's something nobody really wants to talk about as related to these movies, and all of this makes it a real struggle for a male film performer who in many cases is not paid a lot of money as related to his female counterpart, because his female counterpart is the one who can get $1,000 to $5,000 a scene. No, when it comes to the male performer is barely making anywhere from $200 to maybe $1,000 a scene, and only the top performers, like as related to the male scene, like the MILF Hunter, make the big money. Like he used to make $10,000 a scene, Sean Rees. But many of the male performers you see in these movies barely make $200 to $1,000 a scene. And that's not much money when you consider all of the sex scenes usually focus on women, and male performers are not really seen as stars in this industry. So a male performer, he may come into this business, and he may come into this business looking to go and, in his mind, have sex with lots of women. But a lot of times these men, again, are deeply disappointed as they have to work in these squalid conditions as related to where these scenes are filmed, and they have to be standing around naked all day. And as they're standing around naked all day, they're waiting for the cameras to be set up, and they're waiting to do these scenes. And in some cases, these scenes, again, are grueling, but these men have to suffer as related to these scenes, and the low pay and the long hours and the stress on their bodies from having to take the steroids and the Viagra, and also having to take a lot of other drugs like cocaine in order to keep their bodies stimulated. A lot of these guys have to take cocaine because, one, they need it as a stimulant to get the energy to perform in that 3 to 4 hours, and two, a lot of these guys wind up taking these drugs because they want to be out of their mind, because the whole sexual act impacts them spiritually the same way it impacts the woman. Now, when it comes to sex, again, God did not design a man to go out here and be having sex with multiple women in these casual sexual encounters that are acted out in these pornographic films. No, God did not make a man to be having sex with hundreds and even thousands of women over the course of the time a man is in the adult film industry. No, a man was designed by God to be his steward and his head, and as his steward and his head, he was designed to have sex within a marriage, and he was designed to have sex with a woman inside of a marriage in order to form a spiritual bond with that woman, and form that spiritual bond with that woman so that they could come together under God as one flesh. So when the man is out here having sex with multiple women, he is not able to bond with a woman as one flesh. And like the woman, what happens is, as this man releases his spirit inside of all of these women, what happens is his spirit is basically like the woman who's getting her spirit torn apart by the men. His spirit is becoming torn apart because he's just giving so much of himself to so many women that he starts to become fractured and starts to tear apart. And he starts to tear apart because so much of himself is connected to so many people that he cannot really bond with anyone as a whole man. So what happens with the woman is that she has so many men's spirit and DNA inside of her that she basically gets torn apart by all of those men sticking to her. But the man winds up tearing apart because he's given up so much of himself to so many women that he basically winds up being torn apart because he's not able to become a whole man and bond with a whole woman. And the two of them can't become one flesh because they have given their flesh to so many people that there's no more part of them. And that can be seen in a lot of male adult film stars. Like I remember reading an article about the MILF hunter, Sean Reeves, later on as related to his adult film career. And the look on his face in one of these pictures was quite disturbing because they showed a picture of him when he was younger, when he started around 2002, and how he had a big smile on his face. And then they showed a picture of him around 2010, 2011, and his face basically, as he was receiving some oral copulation, looked very dead as related to the eyes, and he just looked tired as related to things. Not to mention, he went from having a buff body to just having a beer belly because of all the stress he endured as related to being on the set of all of these movies. And as he was receiving this oral copulation from this woman, again, he just had this dead, glassy look in his eyes, like he didn't even care. Whereas in the 2002 picture, he was looking like he was excited. And again, that really shows how this whole adult film industry can have an impact on a male performer, because Sean Reeves was being paid $10,000 a week reportedly as related to him working with reality kings. But at that point, he had just basically had burned out as a performer. And this is what nobody really wants to talk about as related to male performers. Male performers, in a lot of cases, wind up burning out because if you have so much sex with so many women, you start to become feeling very detached, very disconnected from the act, And while you're getting a sex act and getting a physical erection, you're not getting your emotional needs satisfied by this woman. You're not getting your spiritual needs satisfied. And that can lead to a man winding up becoming very despondent. Yes, he's going out here and having lots of sex with beautiful women, but the whole thing is he's not enjoying the beauty of sex. He's not enjoying the beauty of coming together with a woman and bonding with a woman. He's not enjoying a relationship with those women. And that's something many males don't understand as related to male adult film stars. Male adult film stars, like women, can't really enjoy the act which is connected to a relationship, and that really makes it an act that they really can't really enjoy, and it just becomes like a mechanical act. And in many cases the males wind up becoming just as detached and disconnected, and in some cases even disassociated with their own bodies, because again, the Most High did not make sex to be an act that is done casually, and he talked about this in the Bible as related to fornication. And this is why the Apostle Paul said to flee fornication, because the act of sex is something, when you do it in fornication, that is a sin that you do with your own body. And if you go out here and become bonded to a harlot, like Paul says, you wind up becoming one with a harlot. And that's what happens to many male adult film stars. They wind up becoming whoremonger males because they become bonded to harlots. And as they become bonded to harlots, this leads to them thinking that they need to have all of this sex, but the sex isn't satisfying because it doesn't meet your emotional needs, does not meet your spiritual needs, and again, does not fulfill you over time. It doesn't fulfill people over time, and this is what leads to many adult film stars starting to become extremely despondent. It makes them despondent because as they have to deal with these addictions to these drugs and the stress of being on these sets and the low pay, it basically makes it where these sex acts, which would get them great social currency with a lot of dudes, because a lot of dudes think, oh, he's getting all of this pussy, that he's really a really big stud, but this man really is miserable, and because he's miserable, he winds up becoming despondent. And I've read about so many adult male film stars winding up taking their lives, and they wind up taking their lives because they are not really satisfied, even though they're having all of this sex in a dream job for many of these whoremonger males. I mean, for them, they think it's a dream job, but for the adult male film performer, this job is a nightmare, and it's a nightmare because you're out here, yes, you're having sex, but you're having sex for less money than your female counterparts. You're on these sets, and again, just treated like cattle and cannon fodder, and you're basically on these sets never really getting respect as related to you being a performer, not like your female counterparts. I mean, the female counterparts, they will go out here and receive respect for their things in the AVN and XRCO awards, but there's no real much award for the male performers, and the male performers can't really get people to hear about their problems and how they suffer in silence. No, most people don't want to talk about how the adult male film performer is suffering in silence and struggling with a whole lot of issues as related to their physical health, their mental health, and their spiritual health. Nobody wants to talk about the male film performer and how the male film performer is suffering. No, whenever you hear documentaries or films, they talk about things from a gynocentric perspective, but they don't talk about the men in crisis, because many people think that the men are receiving benefits, but many of these men are not receiving any benefits. No, when it comes to many of these men, again, some suffer because of the households they are raised in with their mothers. Others suffer due to the complete sexual miseducation many men have received, and others again come into this industry dealing with sexual abuse that no one wants to talk about. And no one also wants to talk about how many of your straight male performers are members of the alphabet community, and how those men basically are performing in adult films because they feel desperate and because they can't get any other job because of the rampant discrimination that many people in the alphabet community suffered over many years. So they entered the adult film industry because this was a place where they could perform as a man. And I mean perform because many of these guys who are a part of the alphabet community in the adult industry, again, they came here because they couldn't be a part of a regular society with a regular job at the time due to the homophobia and other phobias. And again, nobody really wants to talk about these things as related to the men in the adult film industry. Yes, they'll make articles about all the females who commit suicide, but they won't talk about guys like John Doe who hung himself many years ago. They won't talk about all of those male adult performers and how those adult male performers are suffering. They won't talk about the root causes of what leads to men entering the adult film industry, because what leads to men entering the adult film industry may be desperation like the women who enter it, but those men have a different sense of desperation. Some have desperation due to their fiscal situation and not being able to get a job. Others have fiscal desperation as related to their whole situation in life. And a couple have this whole desperation as related to trying to validate their manhood and their masculinity through these sex acts that are performed in these movies. They believe that if they perform in these movies, this will show people how much of a man they are and prove how much of a man they are. And then there are those males who are just, again, go into this industry, buying into the fantasies of Madison Avenue and Hollywood and the adult film industry, believing that this job is so great. But what's so great about having sex with somebody who you really don't have a connection to, don't really see as a person, and cannot really bond with? That's the critical question I've got to ask, because the male performers, they really start to ask those questions as they're out here having sex with dozens and even hundreds of women. And in some cases, some guys don't even last that long. Like the women, many of the men wind up leaving the industry within less than a year because it's just a lot of wear and tear, not only on your body, but also on your mind. It's a lot of wear and tear on a man's mind and his spirit, because a man, like a woman, wants to come close together with someone in a relationship, not have a whole bunch of casual sexual encounters that are pretend on screen, because this is acting. And again, it makes it where the man, yes, he's having sex, but he's not really forming that bond that he would have in a relationship or forming that connection with a relationship. No, this is just another job for him. And with it being another job for a man as related to sex, a man becomes, again, he thinks he can be indifferent about it, but when it comes to sex, again, men have emotions just like women that are tied to sex. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that at all. And especially they don't want to talk about the spiritual side of sex. No, they want to just sit there and believe, oh, this guy's just out here getting lots of pussy and even getting in the backside of these women and having a good time. But a lot of times what you see on screen is a man pretending to have a good time on the outside, but he's crying on the inside. And he's crying on the inside because he really wants to have more than sex with a woman. He wants to have a relationship. He wants to have a spiritual and intimate connection with a woman. But it's hard to do that because he's given away so much of himself. And because he's given away so much of himself, he can't really share with somebody else, just like his female counterpart. And just like his female counterpart, he can't really share in that relationship and get close to that woman. And that's what really makes it a situation where a lot of male adult film stars wind up not becoming men in God's order and stewards of men that can lead as related to life. No, what happens to these men is that they wind up becoming men in crisis. Now, if you want to learn more about what leads to many males winding up on a road to sexual dysfunction and possible sexual deviancy, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos like this, Or if, in the case of those people who keep requesting these kind of videos, you want to help the channel and actually put some money down that people won't put down, like they complain about, they ask for stuff but don't want to pay for it, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in digital format at Amazon.com, Google Play, Draft2Digital, and other digital booksellers, or pick up your paperback copy on May 24th. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.